As the leader of the Booner Pad, I lead from the front.
All right, boys. Lock in.
It's our core foundation, man. Grit.
I'm fired up. I'm fired the f*** up, boys.
It's pumping right now. It's got my juice pumping, boys.
Welcome to Crunch Time Sports, the Crunch Time Sports Show with Jeff Iafrate and Booner. Booner will be joining us in a little bit here. Lots to get to today on a Tuesday. I appreciate you all for listening, watching, however you may be listening or watching. Like the stream if you're watching on YouTube. It pushes us out in the algorithm. So we appreciate you for that. Like I said, a lot to get to today. Cade Cunningham. We're going to talk about Cade Cunningham today. February's NBA Player of the Month in the Eastern Conference. Why the MVP award isn't as far away as people think. And I think he's not only a legit candidate, but there's not a lot of room for error for other MVP candidates. And I'll explain why Cade has one hell of a case. We'll get to what's happening in the NFC North. The Bears losing their starting center, Drew Dahlman, due to retirement. We will talk about that. What the NFC North could look like when free agency opens up and how this division could improve despite Drew Dahlman retiring, which definitely hurts the Bears. What the Lions will do in free agency. There's been conflicting reports about how aggressive they will be or lack thereof in some other reports. So we'll discuss that. We'll talk about the NFL draft, why or whether or not the Lions should trade up and for what player. We talk a lot about trading back in this draft, but will the Lions trade up if they really like a player? So lots to get to today. I guess we'll just start with the Cade stuff because it's something I've been paying attention to. And, we've talked a lot of Lions and rightfully so. I mean, the combine just happened. The draft is very relevant on top of free agency next week. So the free agency is in the draft is the offseason, you could argue, just as important as in season because sports are transactional. People love transactions and free agency in the draft. People love to pay attention to. But the Detroit Pistons are still a very good team. To no one's surprise. And on top of that, Cade Cunningham just won NBA's Player of the Month in the Eastern Conference. By the way, the only player in the NBA to win it twice this season. Averaging 25, almost 25 and a half points, 6.5 boards, and almost 10 assists for the Pistons. Now, let's just be realistic here, okay? Cade Cunningham is an incredible player. He is in the MVP race. Right now, according to FanDuel, he is third in odds. You have Shea, who's minus 300, Nikola Jokic plus 600, and then Cade Cunningham plus 1,000. And then there's Victor Wembanyama, Jaylen Brown, Luka Doncic. But, the rule in the NBA that definitely helps Cade's chances is the 65-game rule. And if you're not aware, for whatever reason, maybe you don't pay attention to the NBA as much, to qualify for awards, you have to hit the 65-game threshold to win an MVP. Okay, so 65 games. You have to play, so guys don't play 55 games but win MVP or 60 games and win MVP. You have to play at least 65 games minimum to win the award. Now, here's where Cade has a realistic shot. Okay, not only is he extremely valuable to the Detroit Pistons, and the numbers he's putting up qualifies for an MVP award, but the two guys that he's competing with right now, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander and Nikola Jokic, when you look at how many games they've played this year, Nikola Jokic has already missed 16 games due to a knee injury. Okay? He's second in MVP odds. He's very close to that 65-game threshold. He can only afford to miss one more game to remain eligible for the NBA MVP award. So Nikola Jokic, who's second in odds, can only afford to miss one game. The other player he's competing with, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, can only afford to miss 5 games to reach the 65-game minimum. Okay, he's already missed 12 games because he's been managing an abdominal strain. So he missed some significant time through February in the All-Star break, and he's played 51 out of 62 games. So these are two guys. You have Shea, who can only miss 5 games, who's battled an injury, and then Jokic, who can only afford to miss 1 game. Cade Cunningham hasn't missed really any games. I think he's missed like 5 or 6 games. So if you look at it like that, yeah, Cade might be third in odds, but man, at plus 1,000 right now, which he was significantly higher as of 2 months ago, and he's dropped significantly and became more of a favorite. Like, talk about his importance. The record is what it is, which MVP awards, I mean, when you look, I've already talked about a ton why I believe Cade should be the MVP favorite, because I think when you factor in what the Pistons have, yeah, they have 2 All-Stars, but Cade's a superstar, and Jalen Duren's an emerging, even though he got, he's an All-Star this year. He's a very good player, but he hasn't proven to be a legit number 2. When you look at guys like, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, he's not on that level yet where like 2 superstars. You only have 1 superstar and a guy who's a star. It's not like Jokic has Jamal Murray who's averaging 20-plus points, and, he's a legit proven star in this league. Jalen Duren's still, he's fresh into the stardom territory. I think Cade's importance cannot be understated. Just how much the Pistons actually lean on him, not only for his playmaking ability, but his scoring. And he could walk away with the MVP award if, God forbid, Jokic misses 1 game, or I guess Shea misses 5 games. Like, and the Pistons have never had a player like this in terms of like MVP award status. They've had Finals MVPs, and they've had guys that have ranked high in MVP. Isaiah Thomas, I think Grant Hill was up there as well. But to win an MVP award would be incredible for this franchise, and the way Cade's playing right now and where the Pistons are at. I mean, Isaiah Stewart just got back, so we talked about the tough stretch of games without Isaiah Stewart. They battled through that stretch, and now they're getting Isaiah Stewart back. So keep an eye on Cade Cunningham, because this MVP race is not over by any means. If an injury pops up between Shea or Jokic, he could be leading this MVP race, given the NBA rules. So I thought it was very interesting. So credit to Cade. Staying healthy is part of it. And I'm actually kind of glad that's an actual rule, because it should be. I mean, if you're going to be most valuable player, you should play, 65 games. You should be able to clear 65 games. So keep an eye on Cade Cunningham. All right, let's get to the NFC North, and we could talk about what happened today, which pretty big news. I don't know what's going on with Ben Johnson and centers retiring early, but the Bears just lost their center. Okay, Drew Dahlman pulled a Frank Ragnow, essentially. Their starting center, who they signed last offseason when they basically rebuilt their offensive line. And Drew Dahlman's a Pro Bowler. He was a Pro Bowler this year, and he's decided to essentially walk away from the game, which, that's his decision. I'm not going to fault the man. He played 5 seasons in the NFL, made a good chunk of money, got to leave the NFL, with not only a good bit of money. People would say, well, why not finish out your contract, make more money? I get that, but he has, he's relatively healthy. So he went to Stanford, so I'm sure was more concerned about, at 27 years old, being healthy and being able to walk away from the game in a good spot. So he did that. I'm sure Bears fans are upset about that. It's good for the Detroit Lions and bad for the Detroit Lions. It's good because Drew Dahlman's a Pro Bowl center, but it's bad because now the Bears have entered into the center market. They now will be looking to add a center in free agency or the draft. So now you have competition in your own division for trying to acquire a center. I think this frees like $10 million for the Bears. They're going to carry it. They're going to carry the rights to Drew Dahlman if he were to return. But on top of that, they basically carry a little bit of a cap hit. I think it's like I don't know the specifics of it, but a smaller cap hit. Again, I'm not an expert when it comes to the cap and all that, but I do know it frees like $10 million. Pretty. It's immediate relief. So they're going to be on free agency trying to look at probably the same players that the Lions are looking at. They're going to be looking at Cade Mays. They're going to be looking at Connor McGovern. Okay. I don't know about Tyler Linderbaum. I don't know if he's in their budget, but still, some of those players the Lions will be looking at, the Bears will also be looking at. But it's not just the center position. I mean, when we were down in Indy, the talk you kept hearing is how the Bears are essentially shopping for big time names at the edge spot to pair with Montez Sweat, Max Crosby, Trey Hendrickson, And Trey Hendrickson is they're going to allow him to hit free agency. So he's going to be a free agent. He's going to have the right to sign with any team. And here's the interesting connection with that. Trey Hendrickson played for Dennis Allen with the New Orleans Saints as his defensive coordinator. So there's a connection there. So yeah, they'll be competing with you to sign a center, but this NFC North I think we get hyper-focused on the Detroit Lions, and rightfully so, right? We cover the Lions. You guys are Lions fans. I understand it's Lions, but when you look around the NFC North, you're not the only team that's trying to improve, okay? The NFC North is trying to make moves. The Vikings are reportedly interested in Geno Smith, which, depending on how you feel about Geno Smith, they're looking for a veteran quarterback to come in because they have a good roster, and they believe if they get a veteran quarterback, they can be back in the playoffs. So you're not going to have J.J. McCarthy throwing 4 picks through a 2-game stretch or turning the ball over a lot and looking like a bust. Okay, you're probably going to bring in a veteran quarterback who's way better than J.J. McCarthy, even if he's not some elite guy. So the Vikings are going to be back in the mix. The Bears, like I said, they're trying to make a big splash. Tremaine Edmonds, they're allowing him to shop basically himself and look for a trade. And they're probably going to try and get rid of Tremaine Edmonds and save some of that money. So they're trying to free up money to sign an edge. I don't know how it affects the Drew Dalman stuff. I'm sure they're going to now have to look for a center on top of getting a pass rusher. But the Bears are trying to take the next step. And, they're also not really paying their quarterback. So, it helps that they don't have to do that. And then the Packers are the Packers. Like they're going to win 9-10 games and just be in the conversation. They have Micah Parsons. So we'll see what happens there. We got to see some of him, and he's an incredible player. But this NFC North division is not getting any easier. I'm telling you that right now. And I think the Lions right now, I say all that to say this. I think the Lions are at a fork in the road where, you have this philosophy on how you approach free agency and the draft and Brad Holmes' approach, which he's kind of stood by throughout his tenure. But now it's getting to a point where it's like, okay, this division is only getting better. Okay, especially Ben Johnson's second year. If the Vikings get a better quarterback, we know what they can do. Look what they did with Sam Darnold. They won 14 games. I know the Lions beat them twice that year, but they were still in the race to win the division. I think Kevin O'Connell's a great coach. They still retain Brian Flores. And then the Packers are the Packers. Okay, they're always going to be somewhat in the conversation. So you're sitting there going, okay, we have to address center. We just traded David Montgomery, which, it had to happen. And I actually credit Brad Holmes for the deal he was able to get for him. Are you going to approach free agency in a passive way and just focus on re-signing your own guys? Are you going to try and get impactful players through the draft, through free agency that can come in and start right away? There's more competition now in this division than there was when the Lions were making the NFC Championship game. So it'll be very interesting to see how this plays out. Like, again, Trey Hendrickson could be in Chicago. They could steal a center from the Detroit Lions. So now if I'm a center, I would love to go to the Detroit Lions and play with these skill position players, play for Dan Campbell. But you got Ben Johnson over there. So, and Caleb Williams, who you might not like him, but still that offensive line has some guys. Joe Thuney is over there. Jonah Jackson looks like he did with the Lions. So it's not a bad spot if you're a center either. You get to go over there and be a starting center for that offense. I mean, it's going to make things, in my opinion, a little more difficult, but it's going to be more competitive, which is the reality. Like, we can poke fun and say Ben Johnson makes centers retire for whatever reason, but they're going to be active, okay? And they're going to try and sign similar players that you're trying to sign, okay? Like Shop, the VTG, appreciate you. He says, who makes a move for center first, Bears or Lions? Like, that's the thing here. Honestly, when I'm looking at the centers in free agency, Connor McGovern, in my opinion, is most likely, just my opinion, most likely going to go back to Buffalo, right? Like, they just made their offensive coordinator the head coach, and Joe Brady. You get to play for Josh Allen. I'm sure he wants to stay with his quarterback. Cade Mays, he's a solid player, probably going to have competition, including the Panthers. And other than that, maybe you have to go get a center via trade, honestly. That's why, I've been talking about Jake Slaughter, but trying to get a center through the draft should not be ruled out, because this free agency, Tyler Lindenbaum, you're not going to pay for. So You know, who's going to be the starting center this year for the Detroit Lions, and at what price and what player? That's going to be the conversation. That is. Let's bring in Boone. Let's get Boone in here. Boone, how we doing?
How are you doing? Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good. It's a beautiful Tuesday. I apologize to the people for being a little late. Obviously, it's the same thing as a couple weeks ago. I get lined up. Another job. People know, do have that. So I apologize to the people for being a little late. Foreshadow too. Did you tell the people yet, Jeff? Foreshadow?
No.
Rest of the week, so it'll be a Booner show Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Jeff is taking a couple days off, well deserved, by the way. I told him he's been trying to be like, Boone, I'll do this, I'll do that, I'll help out with this. Said, put your phone down and just enjoy. He's going to Florida for the next 5 days. I said, put your phone down and enjoy. So I will be out doing the show the next 3 days. I also do work until 7 p.m. for the next 3 days. So I'm trying to get off early so we can start the show at 8. There's a chance for the people who want to know. There's a chance the show the next 2 days starts at 8:30 p.m. instead of 8 p.m. I just want to foreshadow, Jeff. Just want to foreshadow.
Yeah, good man. So
it stresses me out. It stresses me out just thinking about it this whole drive back. I'm like, but
yeah, you'll do great. You got the Doc coming on. You got Scott Bischoff, Caleb joining.
Flannel and Caleb will be in. I forgot Flannel's coming Thursday as well. So I have a packed show, and sometimes you do your Monday morning shows, your solo. I don't ever get to do like a solo, like just talk to the people, throw out some takes, like even though we do all day. But sometimes it's good to get some reps in solo. You know how it is.
Absolutely, yeah. I was just talking before you joined about the Drew Dahlman stuff and how I believe this NFC North. I think I was saying earlier, I think we're so hyper-focused, rightfully so, on the Lions, but the Vikings trying to get a veteran quarterback, I think they're going to be back in the playoff picture. The Bears, you see Max Crosby. I mean, I mentioned it, but on FanDuel or DraftKings, he's a heavy favorite to go to the Bears. I don't know where that comes from. Trey Hendrickson played for Dennis Allen back with the New Orleans Saints. They need a center now. They're going to be competing with you for a center. They're trying to free up money.
Yep.
Like, I think we talk about the Lions, but man, the NFC North, they're going to be going at each other's throats because the Vikings, I mean, we can talk shit and make fun of JJ McCarthy, whatever, but they have a good roster. Like if they get a veteran quarterback that's capable, they can win 10 games. They're going to have a pretty good schedule too. So this free agency period, man, you're going to be competing now, not only just to get better and try and top these teams, but at the center spot with the Bears now with Drew Dahlman.
Yeah, I think there's a thing I saw someone tweet out. I wish I remember who the account was, but someone was like, Ben Johnson just like chases centers away. Like centers hate playing for him because Frank retired and then Drew Dahlman retires. And Drew Dahlman, by the way, too, first off, incredible center, right? Like he was with the Falcons for 4 years. And then a Pro Bowler, here with the Bears. I think he was a Pro Bowler this last season at that. So like, if I remember correctly, I could be wrong with that, but like it's a guy that at the top of his game just going out and it's like you're seeing that more often in the NFL, especially at the offensive line position. It's a tough position, man. You get beat up constantly. I don't know what his reasons were, but that's the sense where it's like, all right, like they take a little step back. Listen, Bears are still going to be the Bears. Like they're going to figure out something. It is another team that's out there for a center. And I know we're going to talk free agency here in just a little bit. So I do have a take, Jeff, with free agency that I think might make people happy and might make people think a little bit, but it kind of ties into all of that. But I do think you're spot on, man. Like the NFC North, it's very good. And I don't even think the Drew Dahlman thing, like it hurts. And I know a lot of Bears fans are probably like shooken up about it because that's that's like their guy and how good he was this year with Caleb Williams, especially a young quarterback, but they're going to be just fine. Like, they're going to find a center. They're going to find someone to step in, I'm sure. And just like they did last year. Look at what I think a prime example is look what the Bears did last year with their O-line. They figured it out. Like they put together an offensive line in one off season. And I know they had the money to do it. And they have more money than the Lions when you actually break it down. Like they're going to have an opportunity. I saw a lot of people online being like, well, the Lions can actually take as much out technically and get as much in cap as the Bears do. It's just so night and day difference where the Lions do it. They're stuck down in contracts for a billion years. The Bears can do it in a way where they're, they're not crippling themselves for the next 30 years, right? Like compared to the Lions, they're going to be able to have opportunities to do it, in upgrade positions without tying themselves down for years to come.
Do you believe? I mean, and by the way, like we've talked about the Max Crosby stuff. I know it's been heavily will he come to the Lions, which is not going to happen at this point. But what I will say is I said it yesterday. I think he's in the David Montgomery bucket where he doesn't want to vocally say he wants out, but I think they're shopping him.
Yeah.
Actively, and I think he will be traded. Like I do. And the Bears, I don't know where the Bears, I get they need an edge. They have capital. They could probably move around and make cap space. But I mean, Max Crosby, I do not want Max Crosby in this division. No, thank you. I'm good. Maybe Trandrickson too, but he's a heavy favorite. Like when I saw the odds we posted,
it's like minus 150. It's not even close. I tweeted it out today, and the thing that like typically the shocking thing to me is a lot of people like I saw someone put an example of, well, the Bears last year, they were the heavy favorite to land Ashton Gentry. I think it's a completely different scenario because it's not a draft pick. It's a free agent. And in those odds, guess who's in those odds? The Las Vegas Raiders. The team he's currently playing for is factored within those odds. And typically when you see like these things come out, the favorite usually is the team that he's on because they have to trade him and they have, it's more likely that they choose to keep him. And it's not the case with Max Crosby's odds. They're the second favorite to land Max Crosby. And it's shocking to me. Like, I think people like these odds don't just move to move. The Bears like a day or two ago were like plus 1,000 to land Max Crosby. So there's obviously something. Yeah, and there it is, minus 135 and the Raiders plus 175. Something obviously happened behind the scenes, Jeff, for that movement to happen. The movement doesn't just happen just to be like, oh, Vegas is going to have a little bit of fun here. They're not in the clickbait and fun business, Vegas. They're in the I don't want to lose money and we want to make money business. And the fact that the Bears odds moved from plus 1,000 and something all the way to minus 135 in a 24-hour span, I think is telling, right? Like it's the same thing with the Demont stuff with this last week. Oh, he's being shot for a 5th-round pick. Oh, well, he doesn't want out. He doesn't want out. Like, no, he does want out. Connect the dots. Like, it's the same thing with Max Crosby. Connect the dots.
Lions
he wants out.
1,000 on here, which rightfully so. That's probably where that is. But like Dallas, like I do have a feeling it's Dallas. I know I'm not just saying this because of the odds. Like even before this, it felt like Dallas was a player. But yeah. I guess right now it's like Dallas or the Bears, it feels like. I don't see the Bills. I don't see the Bucks, the Patriots maybe, but they talked about they want to draft and develop. They've already kind of talked about the Eagles maybe. You can never know, but I don't think I don't know how they can make it work.
Yeah.
But
dude, I'll tell you two teams real quick that I think right away, like if I'm betting this, like Bears, obviously, they could figure out the capital and figure out the space. The two teams, Jeff, that I don't think people are talking about enough about, and they're both on this list here, but they're listed very low. Well, first, plus 850, the Dallas Cowboys, they have 2 first-round picks this year. They could give up this year and next year, and I believe they have 2 next year as well. Don't quote me completely, but I believe they have 2 this year and 2 next year to where they have the assets to say, hey, we'll give you 2 of our first-round picks. They still have first-round picks. And then they could figure out the money because they didn't have to pay Micah Parsons, and they can move that around and figure it out for Max Crosby. So I think the Cowboys is like a serious team. Sleeper team, Jeff, are you ready for this? Can you take a guess before I say it? You want to take a guess?
I'll say the Rams.
The Los Angeles Rams. 2 first-round picks this year. Could give 1 up, could give next year's up. They're a team that's not afraid to not have first-round picks. If they give up next year's, we've seen the Rams draft without first-round picks for how many years was it? Like
a lot.
5 or 6 years. I think the Rams, dude, you have already a really good D line. You have some sort of money. Like you can figure out the money, but you have the assets to be like, imagine Max Crosby with Jared Verse. Like you're probably going to win a Super Bowl. You have that offense. Now you add Max Crosby to Jared Verse. You have the assets to do it. And we've seen Sean McVay and Les Snead go all in like that before.
You know what's crazy? I think there's 1, so it's 2, 4, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of the 10 teams on here are NFC teams. So that's not fun. I mean, he's coming to the conference. Yeah. And he's going to be with a direct competitor. So, it is what it is. It probably makes it even more important, that offensive line. I mean, you to have Max Crosby, let alone in your conference, but in your division with the team that you beat twice last year, but won the division, is not good. That is not good news. So, and I mentioned the Trey Hendrickson thing, the Dennis Allen connection. I don't know. It just becomes it becomes even more important with what happens in free agency, which, by the way, there's all these conflicting reports I mentioned about what the Lions are going to do, how aggressive they're going to be versus will they focus on re-signing their own, maybe bringing in a body at center and kind of keeping it pushing, or are they going to try and clear up more money? I'm still waiting on a restructure or two. That's another big news. I hope it happens while I'm gone and you guys are doing the show. I really hope they free up some cash. I really
sure it's going to happen. My guess is by the end of the week, there's going to be at least one restructure.
I'm curious, what the holdup is. I don't know what goes into it. I don't have the knowledge of it, but it feels like it's a pretty straightforward conversation. And it's only Tuesday, so you have a couple days, but it's
they got until next week, really. I think it's next Tuesday or something. They do have time. I could bet maybe that there's already something in place that they're just kind of taking their time to put it out. That's that'd be my guess.
They did tell Graham he would get released 4 days ago. So stuff happened.
By the way, before we get into this free agency stuff and all that, I have two things for you. One, this is both from the Lions Collective. I watched today. It was a great show with a lot of insight. Is Will best friends with Graham Glasgow? Is there a connection there? He sure does. He knows a lot about Graham, and which is a
lot of those guys are connected to the players. They definitely are. Yeah, what Will was saying about that for sure.
Dude, some insane insight about how Graham Glasgow wanted to sign thinking he was going to play right guard. Dan Campbell and the fact that Will knew Dan Campbell called Graham and said we might move you to the left, and Graham hesitated to sign and was I don't know, that's big news. Because remember when Graham did his press conference the next day after he signed, he was it was a no-brainer. There was nothing that was going to stop me from coming back to Detroit. It's then I heard that, I was is that breaking news? I had no clue that was a thing. Zero clue.
So for people that didn't catch Lions Collective, essentially Will Birchfield from 97 Won the Ticket kind of gave insight to Graham. And when he signed the extension, 2 years ago, I think it was, whenever it was.
2024, yep.
Yeah, Dan called him to what you're referencing and, said, hey, he was a part of the offensive line. They went to the NFC Championship game that year, and he was playing right guard. That's where he played well at. And Dan called him and was like, hey, man, you might play left guard for us this year. And he's like, oh, really? What's the odds on that? Kind of paraphrasing. And he was like, well, we don't know as of yet, but just be ready. You might play left guard. Is that okay? And Graham's like, well, yeah, because, he kind of knew. I think Graham was probably thinking there's a chance maybe this is a short-term thing. Maybe this is just Dan spitballing. And then he resigns, and then they signed Kevin Zeitler, who's a Pro Bowler who plays right guard. And then it was yeah, you're playing left guard. And he played left guard and actually struggled that year.
Yep.
Remember, that was the whole thing.
He struggled bad that year.
And then he struggled. And then not only that, Kevin leaves, they draft Tate Ratledge, and then he moves to center. So he doesn't even get to play the position which he signed to play, essentially. So, as much as people criticize Graham, and at times it's you're going to criticize a player for his play. You have to at least factor in his perspective. He signed up to play two positions he didn't really want to play. It wasn't his natural positions. So you got to give Graham some love there, man. He's just a trooper. He didn't succeed well at center or left guard, but he played well at right guard, and that was the position he wanted to play the entire time. So. That was a interesting backstory to that extension. It's you sign a guy to do A, and then he ends up doing B and C, and he's like, well, and then after this year, he's probably I'm not taking right guard. Obviously, I'm 33 years old. not having a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Kinda, they hung it up, they released him, and I think he even said on his stream, like, unless it's a perfect situation, I'm done. Like, unless it's a winning team, a perfect situation, he's not going to play again. So,
which is fair. I mean, he had a heck of a career, dude, and even in Detroit, he played in Detroit for 7 years and through 2 different spans. So, I can understand why Graham, dude, he went through it with injuries. He's kind of like the Frank thing, where he's like, dude, he was going through it, especially this last year or so. That's why I was shocked, like with Taylor. Taylor's been going through it with injuries. So it was probably honestly, I wonder if Graham was just like he mentioned retirement. Someone asked him that at the end of the year. I thought that he would just retire and then instead of getting released or going through all that. I wonder if the money lined up differently or how that worked, if there was something with that. I just thought that insight was so crazy. And the second thing too, can I bring one more thing up on the
go ahead.
Lions Syndicate?
Lions Collective, yeah. But shout out
Lions. Shout out the Syndicate, dude. He's a legend, dude. The Collective. The David Montgomery stuff. That was so interesting. Colton had someone that spoke with the Lions. For people who didn't hear this, had someone who's spoken with the Lions and texted him and said that the Lions, and I can read the quote here. We tweeted it out. I'll just read it here directly so I don't get it wrong, because it feels like it's such a big, like when he said it, I was like, wow. Said the Lions were a little bit confused on why David Montgomery wanted out. But if they got the right deal to make it work, they would send him off and make him happy. That right there, I think confirms like D-Mount was like, I want to get out of here. Like I'm done in Detroit in like the nicest way possible. Like I think everyone's been like teetering the line. Like, has he asked out? The Lions push him out. What happened? D-Mount want like that, right? When I heard that, I was like, oh my gosh, like D-Mount wanted, like it's like connect all the dots. David Montgomery wanted a new opportunity. And then we talked about it yesterday. He put out the voice message essentially being like I appreciate the Lions for giving me this opportunity and like, abiding to his request. So,
yeah, I think he just hit the reality of it, man, is I think he just hit his ceiling with what he would do as a Lion. Like he wasn't going to get the type of production and touches he did his first 2 years here with Jameer. They want to make Jameer Gibbs a feature back. And I think D-Mon even said that in his voice message. Like, he knows he's an RB1 and he knows he's probably outgrown his time with the Detroit Lions. Like, as an almost 30-year-old back, it's like, you want a chance to compete and start. So, yeah, I bet the Lions wanted him because they were trying to convince him the whole time with Drew Petzing, trying to probably sell him on Drew Petzing. And I think at the end of the day, it's like, hey, appreciate it. You guys can sell me. You guys can sell me all this, all due respect, BS. But we know Jameer Gibbs is the guy. They're going to feed him. He's not.
I think that just the reports the last few days, like everything with it, I think it just confirmed that like the Lions really wanted to keep D-Mon, and they actually were like, essentially what from what I've heard and what it sounds like, it feels like they were fighting and trying to convince him to like, hey, like dude, I think now hearing all this stuff, it goes back to when we were at the Brad press conference last Tuesday, when Brad was like, we want to put everything behind us and move forward with David Montgomery, and we want him on this team. And I think like when he said that, I think that and he was like, a player needs to want to be where they're at. And that obviously isn't the case for D-Mon. And I think he wants to be in the city of Detroit. But I think when it comes to the production and the opportunity, I think that was where it was like, hey, I'm getting the lack of opportunity and I want somewhere where I can get more. And I think the Lions did I think they fought to the end to try and keep him for one more year. And it was just, D-Mon was, especially last year. You could blame John Morton. You could blame Dan Campbell. I think it falls on both of them. For taking D-Mon, his carries and production out of the way.
Yeah, I think I Will actually brought up a good point too with the trade. It just makes people need to really appreciate what Brad actually got for him. I think that's the underrated part. Like, look at running backs that have gotten traded in the past at around David Montgomery's tier, 4th and a 7th. I know he's under contract, so that obviously helps. He's getting paid top 12 money. He's already under contract for 2 years. But two picks a 4th and a 7th, and Juice Scruggs, who, at depth has a ceiling. Who knows if he'll reach it, but compared to like what Brian Robinson Jr. got when he was traded to the 49ers, he was 1,000-yard back. Like he was traded for less than that. So and he was younger, and the 49ers wanted a complimentary back, and Dave Montgomery went for more as almost a 30-year-old back who's still a good player, but I'm still surprised that Brad got what he got. I think I think it's a good return for the Lions, even though I hate to see him go, but it's just the reality. They did a really good job. And Juice Scruggs, a little background. I mean, he's a center, probably more so a center than anything else. He could play other spots. But, I was thinking about this with the whole Tate Ratledge conversation, which I am going to bring up in a second because we'll get into the free agency stuff. But I thought this was interesting that something Will Birchfield brought up. I never really thought. I mean, we've been on the same page with Tate Ratledge, me and you. Like he should play right guard, he should not play center. But Will Birchfield said it today. Like if you look around the NFL and you look at all the best centers in the league, they've all played center in college. All these guys are centers at the end of the day. The only exceptions are Aaron Brewer, who bloomed in like his 5th year of his career, and Cooper Beebe with the Dallas Cowboys.
That was the name I was going to bring up, actually, was Cooper
He's
Beebe.
really those are the only 2 of 32 teams. Like, I don't like those odds. Like, I mean, most of these guys are centers through and through, and you don't have the time to wait on Tate Ratledge. So it kind of says, as much as we like the idea, it's like, oh, just move him to center. Dude, you ain't doing that. You can't do that. You can't afford to do that. And why would you do that to Tate Ratledge? He's a good right guard. He should stay at right guard. So if you're drafting one, if you're signing one, if you're trading for one, get a center, not a guard center, a center who's played center in his career. So, and Brad kind of opened up the idea when he was asked about it. Like, we don't hate it. He didn't do bad last year. It's like, well, I agree. I think he can hold his own, but no.
I think Will brought it up. I don't remember if it was in Indy or if it was on your guys' show. I think it might have been on your guys' show during the combine, where it was like, dude, if you move, like this is the realization of a Tate Ratledge. You have an issue at center, right? Like you need a starting center. You need someone to fill in there. You already have one issue. You move Tate, one, you have to deal with the transition of Tate, and that's another year of like, how is this going to be? What is it going to be like? After he just got his reps at right guard, and he's going to be, in my opinion, whether you can agree or disagree with me or not, I think Tate Ratledge is going to be one of the better right guards in the NFL next year, personally. He was the best rookie offensive lineman in the NFL, graded-wise, and if you look at pressures-wise in 2025. So you would think he only builds off that, and at that position, he's next to Penei Sewell, and if you bring in a good center, like he's going to be in a good spot. You move him, now you have to deal with, one, the transition of him going to center and hope that it works out and he can do it. And 2, you're creating the problem of now we need to find a really good right guard. So like Will said it last week, you're essentially creating another issue, right? You already have one issue. Now you're creating a second issue by being like, let's move Tate over, where you can just keep him there and you only have to patch up one issue. That's where I'm at kind of with the whole center thing and the whole Tate and that thing. So I fully agree with anyone that's like, dude, you do not need to move Tate Ratledge. It should not happen. And I'll say this. This is I said I had to take Jeff about free agency and this whole thing. Can we get into are we into free agency now? Does this count?
Well, I wanted to set up what I was going to bring up, which is the Dave Perkett article, which here's a part of it that is very interesting. It says here, multiple agents, per Dave Perkett, Detroit Free Press, multiple agents who met with the Lions at the NFL Combine do not expect the team to be major players in free agency. And one who spoke with the team believes they will move Tate Ratledge to center and open up competition at the guard spots. I mean, they did meet with some guards. I'm not saying it's the end-all be-all, but they formally met with Emmanuel Pregnon out of Oregon, and they've met with some other guards in the mid-rounds. But I try to just dodge some of these things. I believe Dave, though, man. Like I not to look into everything, but maybe there is some truth to them actually believing they can move Tate Ratledge, maybe, which is the wrong move. Obviously, the wrong move.
Do you want to throw up the other report? Because I mean, there's this report from Dave, which I believe Dave, and I guess it depends on the agents that are talked to. But then Albert Breer, I don't know if this was within hours. Albert Breer puts a report out that is literally the opposite of what's said in Dave's article. So do you want me to read that, or did you want to read that?
Albert Breer said it. As for the Lions, I expect the acquisition of Scruggs to be the first one in a little bit of an offensive line reworking. Detroit's identity was built through the position group that Dan Campbell's first 4 years and fell off a bit last year. To get back to where it was, I wouldn't rule out a big swing by Detroit, maybe on someone such as Ravens free agent center Tyler Lindenbaum. Which again, conflicting. I mean, you have. Yes. But here's the thing. I'm reading between. I'm reading in the, what is it called? Like between the tea leaves. Yeah. Albert Breer didn't say in here. He's hearing that they will be in. Like it's more of a. I wouldn't rule out a big swing by Detroit. I'm sure he puts in there things he heard. Dave said, I spoke to people who have spoken to the Lions, and like. That's where like Albert Breer obviously knows a lot of things, but like the verbiage, with like Dave's, I've spoken to these people that have spoken to the Lions, and then like Albert Breer, where it's like, hey, I wouldn't rule out a big swing by Detroit. He didn't say like I've spoken to people who believe a big swing is coming, or you know what I mean? Like I tend to side with Dave Burkett on this. Like I don't know. I don't think Tyler Lindenbaum's going to happen. I don't. I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I think. Listen, I hope Albert Breer is the one that's right here, and Dave is awesome. I had a lot of good conversations last week with Dave. He does an amazing job, and I do trust his work to where if there are agents saying, "Hey, we don't expect it," I would tend to lean towards that side. Now that we're here, Jeff, I think I have a new take on the Lions offseason. It's not really a new take, but it's a broad, it's a circle. It's a, what is it called? When you have a comedian, like a joke, and you open like up
a callback or something.
Callback. It's just a callback to my free agency things. Brad Holmes, number one priority in this offseason, needs to be able to restructure Jared Goff or Amon-Ra Penei, get as much money as you can, whether that's $50 to $60 million. And the number one thing that he needs to do, Jeff, is he needs to go sign one of the best centers in this free agency class. That's it. That should be his number one priority. You get one of the best centers in this class, your offensive line's right back to where you're rebuilt. You have a good right guard in Tate Ratledge. You have Penei Sewell. You can open up the left guard position if you want to have guys, go fight for that spot, whether it's Christian Mahogany, Miles Frazier, whoever that is. You let them go after that, or you draft someone, and you have Taylor Decker. But you have the number one. I don't care, and I'm going to say it. I don't care if you get an edge rusher, if you get another safety, if you get another corner. I don't care if you get anyone else, a backup running back. All I think the Lions the number one priority needs to be get a starting caliber center in the National Football League. That's it. Tyler Lindenbaum, I have a list here of 4 guys. If they don't get one of these 4 guys, it's a disappointing offseason. Tyler Lindenbaum, Connor McGovern, Cade Mays, and a guy that just got released 10 hours ago, Tyler Biadasz from Washington Commanders. And then guess what? He started last year. He was a top 15 ranked center in the NFL per PFF. And guess who he went and visited today, or he's going tomorrow to visit? The Chicago Bears, who just lost their center. If you don't end up with one of those 4 guys at your center position and you say, let's roll with Tate Ratledge, we're going to be good, your offensive line's not rebuilt. What you're doing is you're doing what you did last year. You're leaning on the fact of, we hope that these guys will be good. We hope. No, go get guys that you know are good. The number one priority this offseason has to be to have an offensive line, or you're not going to win a Super Bowl. Point blank, period. And if Brad Holmes doesn't go out and get a legit center, those hopes are gone. You're not winning a Super Bowl of moving Tate Ratledge to center and opening up a starting job and saying, hey, whoever in the building wants to come win this right guard spot, it's open. It's for anyone in the building. You're not winning like that. This isn't Pee Wee football or travel basketball in AAU when it's, hey, shooting guard spots open. Whoever wants it can take it. Like, go out there and beat you. No, this is the National Football League. Go get a starting center. This isn't like a rinky-dink operation where center's not one of the best. This is the best position on your offensive line. The center, the most important position. Go get a guy. Go get Connor McGovern. Spend some money. Jeff, I swear on my life, if they signed Connor McGovern or Tyler Linderbaum and Cade Mays and they brought in Marcus Davenport, I can't say a word because they figured it out at the center position. But like, that should be priority number one. I don't care what they do at any other position. You need to get this offensive line right, or you will not win a Super Bowl. You will not. Look at the Patriots. They got to the Super Bowl. Well, why did they lose the Super Bowl? Their offensive line fell apart. It was dead from the jump. They didn't have a chance. Drake May didn't have a chance.
Yeah, the center position's important. I mean, especially to what the Lions want to do. I mean, you look at some of these centers that are available, like just market value wise, like these are all the guys before Graham comes up. So these are the only guys I've brought up. So Tyler Linderbaum, probably not, but the guys you mentioned, Connor McGovern, Cade Mays, Ethan Pochich, Tyler Biadish.
I looked up how to pronounce his name. It's Biadish.
Lloyd Cushenberry, like, he's had a bunch of injuries, but like,
there's only 4 names on that list that like are like legit can help you get better. I think it's Tyler, Connor, Cade, and Tyler. The 2 Tylers, Cade and Connor.
One of those guys. And in my opinion, it's really 2 because I think Tyler Lindenbaum's not coming here, and Connor McGovern I think goes back to Buffalo. So I think you got Cade Mays and Tyler. Those are the 2 guys. I think that you're probably, or you just sign like a Band-Aid, which is not ideal, obviously. So, yeah, I didn't know he was visiting with the Bears, actually.
I think he got released today. And I don't know what, maybe someone in the chat, I need to do my homework and I'll come talk about it tomorrow a little bit more. But he got released from the Commanders, I think. Let me see real quick.
Well,
I think they tweeted it out. 4 hours ago, they tweeted it out.
So last year, this past season, he ranked 11th among qualified centers, which is 40 centers. He ranked 11th, 12th in run blocking, 18th in pass blocking. So he didn't even have a bad year, to be honest with you.
No, they probably just maybe it was money or I don't know what it.
2024, he was 12th. So he's had consistency. He's like a good like top 12, 11 guy. Whoever you want to say. That's what
to me. It's just you have free agency next week. If the report is you're not going to be aggressive, you're going to go into next year. And I saw someone in the chat. And Jeff, me and you have said this too. So whoever it is in the chat, like obviously I understand this. Like you need a defense to win a Super Bowl. We've talked about that. Like you see the Seahawks, the Eagles the year before, the Chiefs. Like you do need a defense. So like when I say this, obviously it's an exaggeration, but even if you get a defense and you go into that with the you're not going to build a Seahawks defense this offseason. It's just not going to happen. You can add the pieces, but your offense has to be able to run the ball. If you want a chance in the third quarters and the fourth quarters to win games, it was so clear this year how bad your O-line was. And it starts at that position. And I think that's where like your offseason needs to start there. It really does. And especially if you just let go of Graham Glasgow, who I don't think was going to be a starter, but a backup. Those top 4 guys, Jeff, that we named with Cade Mays, Connor McGovern, Tyler Linderbaum, and Tyler Biadish, you have to come out of free agency with one. If you're serious about winning a Super Bowl and being a contender, I know you're negative in cap space now. You do these restructures, and you better make sure next Monday when free agency starts or Tuesday, you have enough money to be able to be aggressive with one of those 4 guys. And you do not leave free agency without one of those 4 guys. You don't trust Cade at center. And those are good centers. And I know people are like, Tyler Linderbaum's $25 million. Like, yes, I know. And then you go to Connor McGovern and you try and take a cheaper guy or Cade Mays. But you have to get one of those guys if you want a legit offensive line next year.
Yeah, and those are all center options that wouldn't be super. It would be more cost effective. Like you're talking $11-12 million, somewhere in that ballpark range. I mean, compared to like Tyler Linderbaum, which is going to be like 20 plus, McGovern probably 15 plus, I would say, something like that. So if you do free up a bunch of cash with Jared, not only can you re-sign guys you want to re-sign, but you can go get a center. Maybe they need probably another corner, maybe a safety. Like Brad Holmes says it all the time. They fill needs in free agency. Well, they have some needs, man. Maybe another linebacker. You probably can't go into the draft with like, yeah, we have a clear need here. We're just going to take a guy because we need to. You know how Brad operates. They'll fill a bunch of holes in free agency and then go take some good players in the draft. So, yeah,
scares me, dude. The report today from Dave Burkett, it freaks me out. Like them actually, I thought the Tate Ratledge stuff maybe was just hey, we'll try it out. It scares me to think that that's something they're going to go all in on. It really does.
It sounds lazy. Like it sounds lazy where it's like, we need a center. Let's just move Tate Ratledge to center and we'll just figure it out. We'll get maybe Christian Mahogany can play right guard. He played right guard in college. It's like you're trying to save pennies. It's like, dude, go, like you said, if you're serious about winning a Super Bowl, leave Tate at right guard, allow him to blossom. Go get a dude.
Your offensive line's better at that point. If you get a dude at center and you have Tate at right guard where he's supposed to be playing, where he just spent a whole year at developing, your offensive line is clearly better than it would be if he moved. Like, it's a fact.
Yeah,
it's like you would rather just spend the money and figure it out, right? Like, wait to give I would rather wait to give some of these guys extensions and pay all these guys if that means you have to bring in a free agency center this year. Like you might have to do the franchise tag a guy next year because of this, but it's going to have to happen. You can't just, try and save all these pennies at all these spots, especially at such an important position like center, and then just pay all these guys because, we drafted them. We pay our own guys. Yeah. And then you're just not going to win a Super Bowl and you're just going to be average and make the playoffs or even like it was last year, miss the playoffs. And now you're back at square one. That's an issue, man. Like it really is.
Hey, Rich says, don't teams need to have a certain amount of cap space in order to draft players? Yes, probably like 10 million, something like that.
Yeah, that's why the restructure is going to happen. Like people in the chat said, there's not, they can't restructure. There is going to be a restructure. It's inevitable. Like Jared, that's why I think the Jared Goff contract is going to happen, or a Panay or Amon-Ra. Like within the next 7 days, there will be a restructure because you have to have money free.
Now, I don't know if you caught the latest ESPN mock draft that came out, which, by the way, kind of factors in what the Lions, you could argue, need right now, which they traded David Montgomery. They're in the market for a running back, and ESPN's Jordan Reed came out with his mock draft for the first 2 rounds. And I want to know what you guys think of this. All right, so at 17, the Lions draft Akeem Mesidor, edge out of Miami, which we got a chance to speak with him. He's a stud. Had obviously a productive season, 17 and a half tackles for loss. I think people would love it. He turns 25 in April, it says, but, it doesn't really matter if he's a good player. And then at 50, they draft a running back, Jadarian Price, out of Notre Dame. After trading David Montgomery to Houston, Lions need a bigger back to team up with Jahmyr Gibbs. Price is a strong runner who complemented Jeremiah Love at Notre Dame and can do the same with Gibbs. In a hypothetical scenario, you leave the draft in the first 2 rounds with Akeem Mesidor and Jadarian Price at running back, edge and running back. How would you feel? If they don't take, and by the way, obviously you can't factor in like trades and, we don't know. You have, at this point, just assume no tackle in the first 2 rounds. So you have to wait until the 4th round to take a tackle, which if we'll get to the Daniel Jeremiah tweet later, which there's going to be like 7 offensive tackles that have 1st round grades. And then there's going to be a massive drop off after that. Like the guys that are all like 1st, 2nd rounders, according to many scouts and people and evaluators. So I hate this. You know how I feel about running backs, like not drafting them in the 1st round, but like even 2nd round in this class, based on what the Lions need, you can't just sit here and take a running back at 50. You can't take Jadarian. I like Jadarian Price. You can't afford. You can't do it. You can't do it. You got too many holes in the trenches, and you don't have enough picks to do it. You don't. So I would be, out of all the picks at 50, I would be pissed off at. I think running back would be up there for sure. There's other ones that you could be like, ooh, makes sense. Running back to me at this early, with all the needs, it's like, no.
I put out my mock draft on Twitter today, and people were there was a couple people who were shocked just to see a running back in the class at all. Like they were like, "Why would you do?" Like, there's no way they take a running back this year because they're going to get a veteran in free agency. I don't think those are. I think I said it the other day. I think there's a chance after the second round. Obviously, they don't have a third, but like the 4th through the 6th round, that there's a chance that they take a running back, like the 2 Penn State kids, or is it the kid out of Nebraska? Like there's a couple dudes that are out there that you can find later in the draft class. Jam Miller, like there's a handful of guys that are going to be available. I'm right there with you, dude. The 50, I think Jadarian Price is going to be a heck of a back in the NFL. And he gets overlooked because he played with Jeremiah Love. And a lot of people look at Jeremiah as like the best player overall in this draft class. And Jadarian Price was like in his shadows, and he's still potentially going in the second round, which is insane. Like if that puts perspective of how good he could be.
Yes.
But I think it would be irresponsible. Listen, I think first and second round, this is what's going to happen. And Jeff, you brought this up actually while we were at the combine, to where ideally, if you were in Brad Holmes' spot, you would be like, hey, first, second round, edge and offensive line. Whether it's the first round edge or second round edge, first round offensive line, second round O-line, whatever it is, like that's like for as a fan, when you look at needs and what you want, that's ideal. On top of like how deep some of these, the tackle, like you said, there's 7 dudes that can go in the first round that are really good, have good upside. But it's the same with edge. Like the first 2 rounds, there's like a lot of good edges in this class. What's going to happen with Brad? You brought this up first with Anthony Hill out of Texas, linebacker. And then I think I brought it up maybe a little bit before when it came to the safeties, where someone had brought up safeties to us. Would you be shocked, like in the first round, if Brad legit went BPA? Because his thing is, the thing that Brad always talks about is in the draft, he's BPA, and free agency, he drafts off, or he signs off in need. He fills holes in free agency and goes BPA in the draft. If you didn't notice, I would say if you didn't notice, Brad switched to needs in the draft when he drafted Terrion Arnold and Ennis Rakestraw. And last year, looking at maybe DJ Reader leaving, drafted Ty Leak to replace. So it felt like the last couple of years he went off need. Look back to his press conference postseason. He says that, hey, in the draft, I need to get back to what I was doing before. What does that insinuate? BPA. And that's like going Jamison Williams, where you don't need a wide receiver because you have Amon-Ra, and he trades up all the way back into the first round for Jamison Williams. Drafting a linebacker at 18 overall. Drafting a running back in the top 12. Drafting, Sam Laporta in the second round. Brian Branch in the second. Like, those are BPA picks, man. And it feels like maybe we set ourselves up this year, more specifically, wanting edge and offensive line, that there's a chance like you end up with a safety. You end up with a running back. You end up with, a tight end in the second round.
I agree. And the reason why I brought it up at the combine is the more I was thinking, I'm like, man, we're getting sucked into this whole conversation again, where it's happening right before our eyes. We did it every year. It's like it goes back to the edge conversation where every year we're like, okay, this is what the Lions need, et cetera, et cetera. And then we get to the draft and we're like, oh my gosh, they took a completely different position. It's like that's where I just had this feeling where it's like we're going to be hyper focused on edge tackle, which, by the way, like rightfully so, dude. I mean, we were watching the combine. There are studs at tackle, like rightfully so. But to your point, there's also some great players that play a position which you could argue they do need. Like Anthony Hill is going to be a great player, and he plays linebacker. How would people feel about that? Well, people would probably be really pissed off. But I think if you're Brad Holmes, and this is where I can understand where he's coming from. And if I was a GM, of course I would factor in need. But if I'm a GM and people focus on every single draft pick I make, I'm taking a guy. That's why I don't really look into where like projection. Oh, this guy's a third rounder. If I like him, I'm taking him in the second round. If a guy's a second rounder and I like him, I'm taking him in the first round.
And I don't care what you have.
The point of the draft is you want to look back at your draft and see you drafted stars. So if he thinks, well, Caleb Lomu's here, Anthony Hill's here, who's going to be a better player? I think Anthony Hill could be like, let's say Brad Holmes, like, I think this guy could be an all-pro guy. Caleb Lomu can be a really good starter for 10 years. He's taken Anthony Hill. Like he you know what I'm saying? Like I wouldn't be shocked at that at all. Like
think about 2 years ago when we covered the draft, when it was in Detroit, right? And listen, how many people had a corner mocked to the Detroit Lions in the first round? And well, I'll say this: a lot of people probably did because at that point there was a need of it. But if you truly covered the Detroit Lions for the years before that with Brad Holmes, not one, and I don't think me, you, Jeff, if I remember correctly, I don't think any of us were like TA to the Detroit Lions, like Quinyon to the Detroit Lions. Want to know why? Unless he fell that far back because we thought he was top 15. Want to know why we didn't do that? It was because Brad Holmes never drafted for need, and there was no reason in our minds where we were like, hey, why would Brad Holmes draft a corner or trade up to go get a corner because you need a corner? He will sit there and he will get the BPA, the best player on his list. And he said, well, TA was the BPA for me. That's why I traded up. He was high on our list. Like, Jeff, do you truly believe that? Like, no, I don't, because 2 months ago I heard Brad Holmes say, I've been undisciplined in the, essentially, not exact quote, but undisciplined in the draft. I need to get back to what I was doing before.
I think
which is the Anthony Hills.
The Tyleek Williams for sure. I think he did that. I think Tyleek for sure.
You think Tyleek was BPA?
No, I think he just took him. I don't think he was BPA.
Me too. Me too. Me as well. And I think Brad knows that. And I think Brad knows that the year before with Terrion and Ennis. I think like he went away from his BPA strategy the last 2 years. And like when we were covering it, the reason we didn't have, he's going to get a corner, is because like we knew Brad doesn't go for need. He goes BPA. And that's why like it was such a shock, I think, for everyone being like, wait a second. And we were hyped when he took it because why? Because we were like, Brad finally went and drafted someone for a need. And you know what? Hand up on me and all of us. Maybe Brad's been right the first 3 years when he says I draft BPA, because look at the roster that he has built based off of that. And then look at the last 2 years when he switched to need. Look at the last 2 years how these draft classes have been. They've been his worst draft classes by far. Because he started drafting a Giovanni Manu, where he's like, well, this could be a guy because we need tackle in a few years. We drafted this guy, this Sione Vaki. Demont's not going to be around. Maybe we can get him. Like, instead of just being like, just give me the best player that's at that position, or not that position, but that pick, and let's roll with that guy. And when you said that about Anthony Hill, it was like, yeah, like if a BPA guy is there, like, if Caleb Downs somehow in this world falls, even close to where you are, you're drafting him. Like, you're not going to just go get a tackle just because you need a tackle and Caleb Downs is sitting there. You're taking him. You're doing it. The only one that I think you won't do that is if it's a skill position, because there's no point at that. You know what I mean? You just signed James. Like, that's a legit, like, we just can't do that. But when it comes to the trenches and it comes to linebackers and safeties and corners, you go BPA, man. Like, and I think a lot of people will be thrown off by that this year. And I think Brad's going to make a little bit of a splash with it. I think he trades up, Jeff. I'm starting to get a spot where,
yeah,
that's why I text you today that we have a topic today. I text you. I go, I think Brad has some guys in this draft class that he's going to really, really love. And I think after missing the playoffs, falling short the year before in the first round, and then him making the comment about I need to be better and getting back to where he was before. Where he was before was he was being very aggressive in the draft, and he was getting like his BPA. And he hasn't done that the last 2 years. I think this year that's why you just saw him at a 4th with Demont and a 7th. Like, I think he's low enough to make a really, really big move and get some of his guys.
Yeah, I think it's a great point. I think linebacker, to be honest, is an underrated need. I'm not trying to argue it's more important than tackle. What I'm saying though with linebacker is it is an underrated need, because you're going from one of the deepest rooms a year or two ago to really Jack Campbell. I mean, in all due respect to Derek Barnes, like, you could argue linebacker is a need as well. Like, and I know free agency has some linebackers, and I'm sure they're going to sign somebody, but Anthony Hill, who I really like, and he's very productive, so you don't have to worry about him being a project or anything. He's going to be a first-round pick. He met formally, I believe, with the Lions. I can't remember if it was formal or I think it was formal, yeah, because he talked to the coaches, and he talked about how much energy the room had, and they took him through film and drawing up, trying to test his football smarts. Akeem Mesidor also met with the Lions formally, so. Like, yeah, I just get people ready. It's like, hey, we want a tackle. We want this. We want that. It's like, don't be surprised. They take Anthony Hill Or like you said, they trade up, which I'll bring up the Daniel Jeremiah tweet and we'll talk about it. Because, dude, like Daniel Jeremiah, I love Daniel Jeremiah. I know you do too. He's a very bright guy, former scout, covers the draft. And when he said something, people should listen. He tweets out, I think this was today, actually, this morning. He said there are 7 offensive tackles with potential to go in the first round. After that group, I can see a gap to the 3rd. If you want one, you're going to probably have to take one higher than you like in round 1. 7 offensive tackles. Like, that's insane. And for people like, that don't know all the names, you have the top of the top, which Francis Maui-Noah, Spencer Fano, Caleb Lomu. Now you have like Blake Miller in there. You have let's see the other your Monroe Freeling. How can I forget? He's probably going to be locked up as like a top pick in this draft. There's a lot of
top 15, dude. Did you see today? In the mock, what's this guy's name, by the way, from ESPN?
Jordan Reed.
Dude, okay. Have you known who Jordan Reed was?
Yes, I saw him at the combine a lot.
Dude, I think I talked to him for a little bit at the combine, asking a couple questions, and I didn't know he was an ESPN guy. Day one he was there, and I'm like, this guy kind of looks familiar, and I kept seeing him. I think I said something to him about one of the players, and maybe made a joke or something, laughed, blah, 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 whatever. And I'm like, this guy just looks so familiar. And I could not figure out who he was. And then I even put the tweet out today about the draft, and I didn't realize that was him. And I'm sitting at work today, and there's a TV's on, and it's ESPN. And he just pops up, and I go, that's the guy that I talked to. I thought he was like the guy that I talked to was like a local reporter that I thought maybe it was like in Detroit or something, where I was like, I just never, and it was just like, he popped up, he's on ESPN. I go, this guy, dude. And then I connected the dots. He's the one that put the two round mock out. And I was like, dude, this guy's legit. I had no clue, dude. He was there all week. And I actually had like a short, like laughing convo with him. And it was just, my brain it kind of was like blew up.
He does great. He does great work. I disagree with the running back take, but he covers the draft in college football. So he does a really good job. And I think Daniel Jeremiah he does a really good job as well.
Great
but
job.
Like, the seven offensive tackles, man, like he is right. I went through it. Fano, Maui-Noah, Lomu, Aichador, Freeling. That's 5. Proctor, and then Blake Miller. And then after that, you get to like Emil Wagner, Drew Shelton, Isaiah Worrell. Like that's 7 guys that are going to be, like Jennings Dunker obviously is a tackle, right tackle as well. But that's 7 guys that'll probably go first round. I mean, have first round grades.
Yeah. So, I think it's going to be interesting. By the way, like Monroe Freeling, me and you have been talking about him for a month now, and about how, and I said a couple of weeks ago where I was like, in this draft class, there's an argument to be made with Monroe Freeling that when his career is over, he's the best offensive lineman in this draft class. Like all pro guy over Francis Maui-Noah, over Spencer Fano, like all of that. Obviously, he might take a little time to get there, a year or two, and need to get him in there to work. I thought maybe it was like, all right, he's going to go in the 20s, and even after his workout, I think with the fact of like the less starts, all that, I think the combine people realized what me and you were talking about a couple weeks ago with the ceiling of this kid. And then today, you see the mock come out, and he's projected. I think he went 6 overall. He was the first tackle and offensive lineman off the board at 6 overall post-combine. So it's like, if that tells you anything about a guy like Monroe Freeling, and he might not even be there for 17 moving forward. That might not even be an opportunity. If you love him, if Dan loves him, or Brad does, got to move up.
Have to. And, these tackles, like to Daniel Jeremiah's point, like you're probably going to have to take one of these tackles a little higher than you feel comfortable, because you're not going to get the same quality on paper at tackle at 50. These guys, like you're not getting a guy at that 50 that's the same caliber of prospect as these other guys. So that also goes into the conversation we just had of like BPA. Obviously, offensive tackle, definitely there's BPA. Like at 17, you'll probably have a chance at half of those guys. You'll probably have a chance at like Lomu, Max out of Arizona State, Proctor, which I guess PG or cold on Proctor. I guess there's like things.
Yeah, dude. I was gonna actually ask you it. Like, we could talk about it off air. I had a question.
I didn't really get
that.
to even know, but apparently there's shit about Proctor coming out that people aren't really liking. It is like
it's just shocking. Yeah, I had
person,
no clue.
The person, I don't know what's going on with there. Blake Miller out of Clemson. He's a multi-year starter.
You don't like him.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan. He's just like a steady, like if they take him, I don't know if he's got like this like all pro, like Monroe Freeling upside or like, Maui Noah or Fano, but those were the guys
I'm interested in because the thing gets brought up with the first round with the tackles, like there's 7 of them, right? Where the arguably first round picks. We see all the time that like we all think we always know going into a draft, hey, this is what it's going to be like. This is how it's going to fall. Arvell Reese is going to go 2. David Bailey's going to go top 5. This guy's going to go this guy. Do you remember 2 years ago when everyone was talking about that defensive class, and we all had them all mocked 5, 4, 7, 10, 12, and then all of a sudden you get into the NFL draft that night. And I can't remember what position there was a run on, but it instantly when it started to happen, essentially it was just a run on offensive players where they started going earlier than expected.
I think the first 14 or 15 or whatever it was.
And that's what it was. It was offensive players. There was a run on a specific position and then a run on another position. And then you go, oh, wait a second. There hasn't been a defensive player drafted in the first 14 picks. And you're sitting there and going, what? And the Colts end up getting the best defensive player, which now arguably could change. But like in that moment, get the best defensive player in the whole class in that moment at 15. And you're like, he was projected to go top 5, top 7. Like, how did this just happen? And it happened quick. And everyone was like, what? I remember we were covering. I think we were at, I think it might have been was that the Detroit? I think it was the Detroit draft. We were downtown and we were all just like shaken up. Like, what is happening? I think they're like, when you hear about this with the tackles and stuff, you just see me at Monroe Freeling in a mock go from 25 projected to all the way, bless you, by the way.
Thank you.
All the way up from 25, all the way to 6 in a mock. That's like, I think it's eye-opening where it's like, dude, you have no clue. Brad could get into a draft night and there could be a run on offensive players and especially like offensive tackles, Jeremiah Love, boom, boom, boom. And there's a list, in my opinion, of 5 defensive players in this draft class that I think are going to have a potential to be really, really high ceilings. Maybe one of those guys end up falling to like 13 to 15, and Brad goes from 17, moves up to 13, and drafts a Sonny Styles or a David Bailey or a Ruben Bain. Like, I don't, dude. That's my mindset when I text you today about like, is there a player that you would like Brad to trade up for? That was my mindset where it was like, there's going to be a player, especially defensively, that's going to fall. Most like there's a chance because there's going to be teams that stretch on some of these tackles. I just wrote down the list of the 5 defensive players where I'm like, if one of those guys falls, I had Sonny Styles, Bain, Downs, Bailey, and Arvell Reese. I don't think they do, but if one of them do, Jeff, and they get to 12, if I'm Brad Holmes, I'm calling. Like, what do you want? Like, we'll move up for one of them. That makes your defense that much better.
You know who I think could fall because of everything you're saying? And it's just because he's kind of floating under the radar, and I think he might be like a couple picks away, is like a Mansour Delane. Which like goes back to our BPA pick where it's like you already really love corners. A DB. Yeah, it's like you don't really love a DB, but he's the number 1 DB. And you missed I shouldn't say you missed because you drafted Jack Campbell and Jahmyr Gibbs, but you missed out on Christian Gonzalez, who went at like 14 or 15, and you decided to go with Jahmyr and Jack, which worked out for them. But if you have a chance to get like the number 1 DB on the board, or like you said, Ruben Bain, who people are docking him because of his arm length, but he's one of the best edge rushers coming out. I mean, I wouldn't be upset at like trying to trade up. I know people are talking about the picks, but you trade future capital then. You'd try and figure out like maybe there's a pick this year, but then you factor like another pick next year. Kind of like what they did with Tesla. They traded a 3rd round the next year, and then they traded something else this year. I'm not opposed to it. Ruben
Yeah.
Bain could actually fall because of his arm length. And Ruben Bain is, I know the arm length is a real, we brought it up to Klotz and we were kind of talking to him about it because you actually brought up the arm length with top guys.
Scares me. Yeah. It's like 33 to 34 and he's at 32. It was like the top 10 in sacks in 2025. All of them were like 33 plus. Like I think the lowest one was Aiden Hutchinson. And we already know the kind of the athleticism that he has to make up for it. But besides that, I mean, you're looking at 34, 35, like Myles Garrett, like these guys' arm lengths are insane, right? Like that's how an edge rusher wins versus a tackle. You have to have that. And that's just something that he didn't have. But, and I know too, by the way, people in the chat are saying, well, these guys aren't going to fall. Again, it comes into a scenario of something like 2 years ago happens when like there were a handful of defensive players 2 years ago that we all thought were going top 10. And we were like, there's no way they like Latu falls. Like there's no way these guys fall outside of the top 12. And they all make it to 15, every single one of them. Like Quinyon Mitchell was getting top 12. There was like, people were like, there's no way he goes outside the top 12, falls. Like it just, if something like that happens, I know like if Sonny Styles and like Arvell Reese and David Bailey, man, I'd be shocked if they got out of the top 5. But if one of those guys do, man, you just never know what could happen. You just never know. You could see Jeremiah Love go in the top 5. You could see a tackle go in the 2 tackles go in the top 5, a quarterback, and then you're sitting there at 6 and you're like, wait, like 4 of the top 5 defensive players are on the board at 6. Mm-hmm. You're like, wait, this was not supposed to be a thing. They were supposed to be gone in the top 5.
You know what's crazy about the arm length thing? Historically, there really hasn't been edge rushers that have been consistent, like Pro Bowlers with 30-inch arms.
That's a scary thing with Ruben Bain, dude.
I think the shortest is Micah Parsons, and he has 31.5. But Micah, you can't compare. That guy is like he's a specimen. Like he's just like, it's hard. He's like, in my opinion, more of like an exception. He has 31.5. I think Ruben Bain has 30 and 7/8, so almost 31, which is really short. And I know it hasn't caused him any issues. He's had 20.5 sacks in 3 years at Miami, but like he's 6'3", shorter arms. Like I know people are like, well, it's like, it's like an inch or two, but it's like, but then why don't more guys with 30-inch arms be successful? I don't know. I'm just bringing you the data. I don't know. I really don't. So like, it's skeptical. It really is. Like I love Ruben Bain, but like that is a crazy thing that I think Brad Holmes, he hasn't. They're big in a RAS score. They definitely look at the measurables. They definitely do. Like they there's no doubt Brad and them look at measurables. Like I doubt Brad's like, oh, I'm not going to take into consideration he has 30-inch arms. You know what I mean?
That's something they're looking into. As much as people don't, and that's why it's tough. Like with Klotz, the argument with Ruben Bain, like if Ruben Bain, and this is the crazy thing with him, if he had 2 more inches on his arm, he's a top 3 pick, and it's not close.
Like even this,
the only issue.
Like full set Bain is Brandon Graham, 2.0, 8 sack a season guy. Brandon Graham at 32-inch arms. Like
30 is so short, dude. Some of the pictures that I saw too, I know some of them were edited, but it was some of the funniest things of the Photoshops I've ever seen.
Like I don't know. I don't know. Like Brandon Graham at 32 and 1/4 inch arms. Like he's 6'2", 268. Ruben Bain.
What was Ruben Bain's exact?
30 and 7/8. So he's almost 31. Like, dude, that. Like, I mean, it's you can say like, well, it hasn't affected him, but it's like he's in the ACC. You're going into the NFL. You're playing against tackles. These are tackles that have 34, 33-inch arms. The best athletes on.
Doesn't Trent Williams have like 36-inch arms?
Trent, I actually don't know. Let me see.
I'm pretty sure his are like. I thought I saw the other day his were like 36.
He's got he's got 34 and 1/4.
Sorry. Who had 36 that I saw? It's 36 is too much. Is that even possible? I don't even know. I swear I thought it was Trent Williams that was 36. Someone in the chat knows.
Tyron Smith, when he was playing with the Cowboys, had 36-inch arms, which is that's crazy, pretty freaking. But like
36-inch arms, bro. I was like,
And there's guys that have long arms that aren't that good. You know, they don't like Zach Harrison at Ohio State. He's a fine player. He's 36-inch arms. It's not even about like big arms means you're good. It means like if you're talented and you have long arms, it definitely helps. You know, like even 30-inch arms, man. Like I don't know. I don't know, Robert. But yeah, I think the Lions, I think trading up's definitely something the Lions have to look into. I mean, considering what we talked about, the tackles, if someone falls, given there's a run on a certain position, yeah.
It's going to happen. Like, I think people realize, like, everyone thinks they know the draft is good. Like, dude, when I put out my mock, people are like, well, Jacob Rodriguez isn't going to be here, or this guy's not going to be here. And it's, dude, it's no one knows. Like, you say that, and then a guy falls. It's like, dude, I think the perfect example, I tweeted it out today, is like the Mike Green stuff. Mike Green was like a lock for a top 12 pick last year, if not maybe top 15. Like lock. You couldn't find a mock draft without him going top 15. And he goes 58th or 59th overall. No one knows. There's no one. It's a thing with in that obviously probably had to do with the stuff that, you know, the off the field stuff that was going on with him. But everyone thought, oh, well, he's talented. People would just brush that off. And then no, it's like, wait a second. And it's like, there's that same thing. Like, well, like Ruben Bain's just that good. His arm length doesn't matter until it does matter and he falls, right? Like there's every year 2 or 3 guys who fall in the first round that are top 15 picks. And you're like, how? Like,
happens every year. We act like we know the draft. You really don't know the draft. I mean, you really don't. So, that's just how it is. We do have fan mock drafts. I actually have.
Did you get some?
Yeah, I do. I have. I can pull these. I have one here.
If you don't have any, I tweeted out my mock on our Twitter. There's 3 or 4 underneath there as well. If we need some.
Where at on the Twitter?
On our Twitter earlier today, I tweeted out I tweeted out my mock, and then the 3 or 4 people put in. They actually just commented and said this one's better than yours, Booner. And I was, well, we'll show it on the show tonight.
Tried mogging you.
For sure. I don't even know what that means, but yeah.
All right. Well, we'll start with this one, and then I'll pull up those as well. So we have our first submission comes from Justin, and he sent us his mock. Let's check this one out. This is a trade that's involved in this one as well. Here, let me get this out the way so we can look at it. But essentially, it looks like in this draft they trade back to 28. And they pick up a 2nd round pick and a 4th round pick, and they give up a 4th and a 6th along with that 17th overall pick. So now you have 28, 59, and 106. He decided to take Akeem Mesidor at 28, 50 Keontae Scott, the nickel DB out of Miami, 2 Miami players, 59 Jake Slaughter, 106 JC Davis, 155 Tanner Koziel, 180 Jaden Kennedy, cornerback. There's 2 corners actually in this draft. Jalen Husky, safety out of Maryland, and then at round 7, Rayshon Benny, defensive lineman. Honestly, I like this draft. Maybe you could have taken a tackle earlier. JC Davis probably isn't the solution, but
yeah, in the 4th round, you're probably
first. But back to our point earlier, like I that would be my nitpick. It's like you probably prefer tackle earlier. But the first 3 guys are all starters, or at least can be capable starters in a year. Like
I would take away Jaden Kennedy out of Oregon because you already drafted Keontae Scott, and then I would go maybe like a running back or something like that.
Dang, I mean, this is how it should look, to be honest. Like when you talk about trading back, this is what should happen. You should be able to trade back and pick up another pick. If you could have, what is it, basically 3 picks in the top 59, I am ecstatic.
Yeah. That's why like we saw people last year get 1st round picks for trading back. Like I know last year's draft, you could argue maybe a little bit more better players, deeper. But I still think there's guys this year. If someone falls in love with someone and you're at 17 and they want to come up to 17, again, if someone starts dropping and you want to like, all right, hey, Ruben Bain just fell to 17, and there's a team that's like, oh, like we have to get Ruben Bain. You be like, all right, give us a first next year and a 2nd this year, and we'll give you this pick. And you make that trade right away. You add a 2nd, maybe you get a 1st, or however you want to do it. I don't know what I would have to go and look at the point system with the trades to see if it makes sense. But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I agree. I would give this grade. I don't know if Akeem Ezra makes it to 28, but if he does, like we said, who knows? I like this mock. I'd probably give this one like a B plus. I think if you take a tackle earlier, probably moves it to an A. But I think you get 3 starters and guys that can contribute right away. Even like Tanner Koziel late's a good pick. Jalen Husky, I really like. I really like this draft. I don't know much about J.C. Davis out of Illinois. I don't really know about him, but I like this draft a lot. So credit.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with J.C. Davis, to be honest.
But I like this draft a lot. So good job. These are already This is already better than the prior drafts we've looked at. We had a couple. The people are stepping up. For the next one, this is a trade back again, and this was on our Twitter. They traded back from 17 to 23. Took Monroe Freeling, which at this point probably not going to happen, but in this hypothetical scenario, 23, they probably could have got more, by the way. No, I guess not. I guess you got a second round pick. It's fine. This is only a 5-round draft too, so I don't know. They didn't do anything else, but regardless, Keontae Scott again, DB out of Miami at 50, 54. Derek Moore, 118. Bud Clark, and then 155. Pat Coogan. This is a hell of a draft too. I mean,
yeah, I think this is a great one, honestly.
If this actually happened, I think people would be fired up. I mean,
you're looking at, in my opinion, like you're talking about, like you have this draft class. Obviously, there's more picks, but like let's just say these top 5 guys. I think in 2 years you look back and you go, wait a second, we got 5 starters in the 2026 draft. You know what I mean? Like these are dudes that are going to be starters for you. Derek Moore is not going to be like a Aiden Hutchinson, but he's just going to be a solid guy. But Keontae Scott, Monroe Freeling, Bud Clark is like, I look at him as like the Kirby of this class. And I think Pat Coogan's going to be a starting center in the NFL as well. So I like this.
Yeah, this is an
I think the trade back is good too. I think you get a second round pick for trading back 5-6 spots. I think that's a fair, like I would do that, especially Monroe Freeling if you can get him. I don't think you will. But if there's a tackle you love and in BPA you could trade back and still grab him, I think that's incredible.
Yeah, this is a great draft. Dresses positions of need. You factor in best players. Like Keontae Scott's a good player. I know corner at 50 is not someone people are like, oh yeah, but he's a good player. He's a good player. Derek Moore, like you said, Bud Clark, like these are all starters at some point. So I love it. This is a great draft. Probably one of the better drafts we've kind of reviewed so far. So this one gets an A, no doubt. So great draft, even though they didn't finish it, but who cares? At 5 rounds, it's an excellent draft. All right, let's do the next one here. This one, which by the way, I've heard nothing but great things coming out of the combine from this player. You got Vega at 17, Malachi Lawrence at 50, Bud Clark at 118, Logan Jones at 128, Zane Durant at 155, and then Cole Payton at 180. This, let me just put this in perspective for people. All right. I know people are looking at Vega, the offensive guard out of Penn State, and going, man, a guard in the first round would sting. There's people in the NFL that think Vega is one of the better players in the draft. Like when you look at, I don't know what the official term for it is, but like guaranteed starters, guaranteed translation to the NFL, Vega's in that. People look at him at guard as like a guarantee, you know what you're getting, a really good player. And he's a left guard. So if they get him, he basically would replace Christian Mahogany. Let's say they sign a center and then Tate Ratledge, Penei Sewell, Taylor Decker. Doesn't, tackle still a problem, but at least you'd have a full-time starter and a better player than Mahogany. So yeah. I know guard's not a sexy pick, but
well, I mean, think about this. Year one, Vega will come in and be a starter instantly, right? Like he's going to be you could slot him in right away. You sign a center. You sign one of these guys that I said. Let's say you sign Connor McGovern. You have Tate Ratledge, Connor McGovern, and Vega as your interior, and then you have Taylor Decker and Penei as your outside. Like I think that's an offensive line that can win a Super Bowl, in my opinion.
That's a damn good offensive line. Logan Jones in the wings.
Yeah, and then your backups, Logan Jones, but then you also have Christian Mahogany is kind of your sixth man, and then you also have Miles Frazier sitting there, kind of ready to go. You have an 8-man crew there. That's a wrecking crew, but the ceiling is very high.
Yep, and Malachi Lawrence, love him out of UCF. That's a great pick at 50, productive player. Like, you get all guys that are not, these aren't projects. I mean, maybe Cole Payton at 1-8. It's like, okay.
Who was this? Was this on Twitter one, or was this just a
This was on Twitter.
Whoever sent this, they know me very well. I don't know. I would like to see the and I'm going to go look at it. But who are my guys? Some of my, like, when I talk about like later draft pick, like day 2, day 3 guys.
This is surreal on Twitter.
Love Surreal. Bud, I don't know who he is, but I'm gonna probably go message Surreal. Bud Clark's one of my favorite day 2, day 3 picks. Logan Jones, I told you I'm starting to think he might be the best center in this class over your guy from Florida. Zane Durant, I've brought him up a couple times, and Cole Payton is my sleeper in the wings at quarterback. If you want a Josh Allen type, that might take a little bit to get going.
Yeah, this is a great draft. Great draft by Surreal on Twitter. We appreciate that. This is I would be happy with this one. So far, we're 3 for 3 in my opinion with drafts. These are all fire drafts.
Yeah, people are killing it.
Now our next one. This is a full draft. Let me see. This one, different player too. This was also on Twitter, and I can get the username in a second here. But you see what happens in the first round here. You get Blake Miller. This is, by the way, Virtual Nestor on Twitter. He decided to go Blake Miller at 29, trade back. It looks like he picked up some more picks, 61, a notable pick there.
Great pick, by the way, with that trade back. Yep.
Genesis Smith, safety at 50. Jacob Rodriguez, linebacker, 118 corner. Devin Moore, 128. Kalen Black out of Indiana. Didn't go to the combine, by the way. He didn't get invited out there. 155, another safety. VJ Payne. Romello Height at 180, Texas Tech. Pat Coogan, Tyreek Sapp, Nate Boerkircher, the Texas A&M tight end blocker, and then Albert Regis, defensive tackle. And then you get another second-round pick, it says here, in 2027. So that's a great haul. I would say the only Romello Height's nice at 180. I don't know if he'll make it to 180. Maybe the arm length. Again, another player with shorter arms. He has like 30-inch arms as well, so maybe that D does fall. I would still prefer you go a true edge earlier. But Genesis Smith, I don't know much about. A safety at 50 must be damn good then if you're taking him at 50. But Blake Miller, not a big fan of his upside-wise, but a solid guy, solid starter. You know, he honestly, he passed a lot of they were talking about Lions Collective today too, because I didn't get a chance to speak to Blake Miller. I really didn't. There were so many guys speaking at once, but apparently Blake Miller has the record at Clemson for games started. And he talked about like a moment where he faced adversity. And you know what that was? He missed a practice. That was the moment he had adversity. He said it pissed him off. He had a wrist injury. He missed one practice in the spring. And he said, yeah, that really sucked. I wanted to be out there with my guys. Like Blake Miller, just he feels Dan Campbell guy for sure. I don't know about the player, but dude, like he checks that box for sure, player wise.
It's a worker, dude, which they love.
Yeah, and he's consistent, started a lot of games, a lot of experience, like kind of Taylor Decker-ish if you're looking at guys like that comp kind of. This one I'd probably give like a C+ to B-. I like it. I like Jacob Rodriguez, Tyreek Sapp, Lucas Loves, Pat Coogan, good one as well. Romello Height, I think, is good value at 180. But Kalen Black at 128 is a good back. But
yeah, I think this is just this would just be. I do like the Blake Miller, the Jacob Rodriguez one. I'm not, and maybe I should be. I mean, this is just on me. Genesis Smith. Are you familiar with Genesis Smith?
No.
I'm more familiar with the other safety out of Arizona. To be honest,
who they met with already. Yeah, I'm not too familiar with Genesis.
Romello Height, familiar with them. That could be a good, day 2 guy. Obviously, Pat Coogan.
Genesis Smith at Arizona. He's a junior, 5 picks in a 3-year career, 4 forced fumbles, 6'2", 200. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I need to do more research on Genesis Smith. I guess I would have to.
Someone, by the way, in the chat asked, "How about the guy with the mullet, dude?" So I'm a big Jennings dunker. I think you are. I think everyone is. Like, they would love that. I just saw it kind of taking me off. Like, I think Jennings dunker. He can move around. He's a tackle at Iowa, but he's probably going to end up being an interior offensive lineman in the NFL. I would like that pick. The only thing that the last 24 hours that's taken me aback on Jennings dunker is there's this medical doctor that does like football stuff on Twitter. I think he's a Lions guy, or I think he might also do, I don't know fully. He tweeted out and he put out a tweet, Jeff, that was like, it was like a thread. And it was like essentially just like ranking each player when it comes to like worry on injury based off of previous injuries. And it was like no worries at all, slight worries, minimal worries, like all the way up to like very worried. Jennings dunker was towards the side of like he's been pretty injured throughout his career. And I didn't know that fully. Like, I didn't know how many injuries he's been through or what, but he had him listed as like slight worry, like should be a little bit worried. So that was the only thing that's thrown me off with Jennings dunker the last week.
Yeah, it says he had a foot injury coming out of high school, redshirt season due to injury, labrum tear surgery in 2022, ankle injury that required surgery, cleanup. But then he started 38 consecutive games from 2023 to 2025. So it's like injury history, but also he ended up playing a lot of games. That is kind of risky.
Throws you off a little bit. Like when you see that, it just, for me, it's like, I don't know.
Yeah. Which you have to factor that in. I mean, I don't know if Brad, we typically know Brad, he likes the guys that are injured because then he knows maybe I can get a deal. Maybe they end up playing and not having injuries, but
or maybe they just don't play because they have injuries and then you get screwed like you had the last 2 years.
It could be another scenario.
Take the chance, but the chance works. It's awesome, but there's probably an 80% chance it doesn't work.
DCP says Miller looks too much like Sorsdahl in the face for my liking. He kind of does, actually, to be honest with you. That's fair.
Did you get? I had messaged you on Slack a couple.
So I have Michael's here. So Michael's, this is his mock: 17 Spencer Fano, 50 Anthony Hill, 118 Danny Dennis Sutton, 128 Logan Jones, 156 Sawyer Robertson, 181 Sam Roush, 205 Andre Fuller, 213 TJ Hall, 221 Caleb Proctor, and then 242 Noah Whittington.
I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. This is an A.
Yeah, I don't. This is probably earlier. You were saying how that guy might know. I think Michael and me just have the same love of players.
Yeah,
I think we just like the same guys. I think
he threw a lot of your guys out there, but he also the Logan Jones, Caleb Proctor for me just really threw me into a loop. And then all of your guys. The fact you got Anthony Hill at 50, which you talked about, Jeff, this Anthony Hill thing. You talked about you would draft Anthony Hill in the first round. I keep seeing mocks of Anthony Hill in the 40s to 50s. So I'm interested in your thoughts on that, because if you can get, a good second round pick and move up maybe and get him instead of wasting a first round pick on him, not wasting, but like if you took like two different life paths and you got to see like, hey, if this happened this in the world, like if you drafted Anthony Hill at 17 because you're like BPA, but then let's say in an alternate universe you didn't draft him and then he ends up falling to 50, you look back and go, oh, well, we could have ended up getting him with our second round pick anyways. Like that's what you don't want to happen.
I think it's, in my opinion, he's projected like late first, early second, so like maybe 40s or like late 30s at the maybe if you're saying 50 could have happened. Yeah, I look at him kind of like Jack Campbell, where Jack was looked at as a second round pick, but then when the Lions took him at 17, it's like, like I think he'll go higher. I think he'll go in the first round. I do. He checks pretty much every box. I don't even know what the worry is with Anthony Hill. Production. He's an athlete. I don't know. Maybe he can make it to 50. We don't know anything about the draft, but I would be shocked if he falls to 50. I would be very shocked. Like he's LB I guess you could. Arvell Reese is an edge, I guess. Sonny Styles.
Yeah, he's
he's
gonna be an
LB2. LB2. He's linebacker 2 or 3. He's 2 actually behind Sonny Styles probably. I don't know any other linebacker that's higher. I mean, who else is higher? Kyle Lewis and him are probably battling. I think Lewis is probably the guy that'll be 50, probably around 50 or so.
CJ Allen is
CJ Allen, yeah. So
yeah.
2, 3, those two guys.
Like I'm looking at the linebackers best available on ESPN right now. Arvell Reese, which Arvell is going to probably be like a Sam edge rusher, but there's Sonny Styles, CJ Allen. They have Jake Galday out of Cincinnati ranked above Anthony Hill.
That's insane.
And then you have Anthony Hill, and then you have Jacob Rodriguez, and then Kyle Lewis. That's your top 7 essentially.
But
like CJ Allen, like I think he goes first round over Anthony Hill.
Yeah, I would be. I don't know what else Anthony Hill would have to do. I really don't. I don't think he had a bad combine either. I think he had a great combine. He's played only 3 years at Texas. He's a junior. He's got production. Like, dude, like
he does. Yeah, I don't know why he's fallen, but I'm with you though. But like again, I get what you're saying, but it's just one of those things you don't want to fall into a trap of, oh, we could have got him at 50 and we wasted, like we could have ended up with Monroe Freeling and Anthony Hill, but we ended up going Anthony Hill and getting Anthony Hill and Danny Dennis' son instead. Like,
yeah, I get that.
Good, yes, but
that's how I felt about Jack Campbell though. But now looking back, I'm cool with it because he's a great player. Like
for sure, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like Jack was a 2nd round pick.
So it's playing. You're playing chess, man. Like
yeah, it's like it's all hindsight too. I guess you look back, you're like, well, he passed on this guy. I get it. You could probably do that, but yeah. Anyway, I like this draft. It's good by Michael. This is a good draft. Great draft by Michael.
We got one more, I think.
Yep. One more. This is from let's see, Steven.
Yep. Sent it on Instagram.
Yep, this is Steven. Okay, so Steven decided to go Akeem Mesidor at 17.
By the way, I love how Ken just put his whole mock draft in the comment section. Trades and all, dude. He's like, I'm gonna get my mock draft on this show one way or another. Like, all right, Ken, you know what? Out of that, you'll be the last one. We'll get yours.
That's so funny. Shout out Ken, dude. He just dropped the whole mock in the chat. Akeem Mesidor at 17, 50 Jennings Dunker, 118 Devin Moore, 128 Kalen Black, 156 Sam Roush, 181 Pat Coogan, 205 Wyatt Williams, 213 Cade Klubnik.
Klubnik, that's the name we haven't seen.
221 wide receiver Eli Heidenreich.
By the way, hold on? Yeah, keep going. Sorry, Eli.
And then 242 Clan Stone edge. Well, what happened?
Maybe hold on. Eli.
What?
Yeah, so Eli, it's listed as a wide receiver there. I think Eli is like a fullback. He was a running back at Navy, which he was incredible. Like, let me try and see if I can pull up his stats for you, Jeff. I'm not kidding. I remember why. Like I'm obviously a better, and I bet Navy a lot this year because a lot of their games were going over. Like they were putting like 40 points up a week. He was a guy that I felt like I remember was putting up okay. So he's a running back / I think he's a running back. Because like listen to his all-purpose yards. He's listed as a wide receiver. Like listen to this game, Jeff. He had 65 receiving yards, 1 touchdown, receiving touchdown, 70 rushing yards, and a rushing touchdown.
Yeah, that's insane.
So it's like he had 500 rushing yards and 940 receiving yards and 9 total touchdowns. Like I don't know where he's going to slot in the NFL. I've seen people list him as like a wide receiver, running back, fullback. Like I think he's just like a a weapon, I guess.
Yeah, he's just a weapon, basically.
I think coming out of Navy, man, like you're in the armed forces, man, just an absolute weapon.
Yeah, he averaged 18.5 yards a catch, and he averaged 6.5 yards a carry.
Yeah, like why not at that point? I think his family too. When we were at the combine, it was kind of cool. His family was up in the stands. I think on the second level, he had like 30 people up there. Every time he would make a catch or he would run the ball, I think he might have worked out with running backs and receivers. Don't quote me on that, but I just remember his family cheering for him at the combine, which was cool.
I did not know that. Yeah, I did not know that at all.
Yeah,
but yeah, 221. He's a little Swiss Army knife. But I don't know much. The player I don't know much about is Devin Moore. I don't know
either. Klotz probably knows him.
Yeah, he's probably someone Klotz would have more.
Or the safety out of Ole Miss, not familiar as well.
Yeah, Devin Moore's a 6'3" DB, 6'3", with 5 interceptions in 4 years. Got turnovers, but yeah, he's at Florida. I gotta look more into Devin Moore. But yeah, your first 2 picks, you go basically Jennings Dunker, Akeem Ezador. So you go trenches, you get a corner, running back, tight end, center, and then you get a quarterback. I actually like this one. I'll probably give it like a B. I'd give this one a B. I like this one. Cade Klubnik is on there. You take him as a quarterback, kind of just to see if he'll work out or not. So good job on this one. Steven did a great job. Vito says, any news on restructuring contracts? No, not yet.
Nothing.
There hasn't.
Is that Vito, Doc's Vito?
No. Oh. No, because I think he would know. He would have the news. He would have the news probably.
Yeah, I was a little taken aback. I was like, whoa, wait a second. Well,
Ken put in there, traded with Chicago, 17 for 25 and 57. Edge Mesidor, then at 50, offensive tackle, Crownover, 57, Stukes, 118, Bud Clark, 128, McClellan, 156, Lewis, linebacker Lewis. I don't think he'll be there, but I like it.
He's there.
Wow. 181, center, Zune, and then 205, Randall, running back out of Clemson.
Hey, Ken, you know what? I'll give you a B.
Yeah,
people are starting to drop. Look at AG's bird. People are that was a one-off. Do not drop your mock drafts like that. AG's burner just did it too.
That's funny. Yeah, these are good. These are good fan mock drafts. You guys did a good job. By
the way, I just realized you had a Tigers hat on. I've never seen you wear a Tigers hat before.
Yeah. I went to I bought this at. I went to Lids. Got a hat at Lids. Never been into a Lids. Well,
recently you did?
Yeah. I was returning something at the mall the other day. I had to stop in there and return something before I go to Florida, and I saw Lids, and I was like, I'm going to Lids, dude. I haven't been into Lids. I've only been into Lids like once, dude. Lids
either. I haven't.
Big hat guy. I got a bunch of hats at Lids. Sweet.
As a kid, I remember going to Lids. Like every time I would go to the mall, I would be like to my parents or my aunt, whoever I would go with. I remember I would always just be like, "Can I get one hat? Just one hat?" Because they're like $30. You're like, just one. And I'd always be like, I just want one hat, please. And I would just get like the most random hat. One time I got a New York Giants hat for some reason. And I was just like, I thought it looked cool because it was like a red hat. It was like a red Giants one. It was
They got me on the membership too. I ended up grabbing a Lids like membership. It's like $10 for the year, and I get like 20% off hats. I'm like, dude, like I'll come back here and grab another hat at some point. So I was like, hell yeah.
Yeah. I think it was a good day for you to get a Tigers hat. I mean, they
yep, that's why I wore
it. They played today. Dude, they lost. They played the Dominican, by the way. I don't know if you saw this, Dominican Republic. Are you in tune at all with the World Baseball Classic?
No, I've been keeping up with it. Like I follow Instagram accounts that send stuff, but no, I'm not like.
Dude, some of these teams, bro, are like Venezuela has an insane Dominican Republic. Like, dude, if you look at some of these teams, they're like the U.S. team is like an all-star team. It's like some of the greatest players and same with Venezuela and Dominican Republic. Like, go look at some of these teams. You're gonna be like, how? But the Tigers played Dominican Republic today. Did you see Kevin McGonigal?
No.
First at bat of the game, bomb. Second at bat of the game, hits in 2 guys. I'm pretty sure, like gets a single, 2 runs in. Like There's just dude, it's so hard. Like they have to have Kevin McGonigal on this team. I was texting my cousins about it, and my one cousin mentioned like, I thought it's a good point. Like they don't need his help really defensively, but it's just like if you're just in my brain, it's like if you're just that good, you have to find a spot for the guy.
Oh,
like,
dude, yeah. Offensively,
we put a tweet out. Yeah, like we put a tweet out like this if you want Kevin McGonigal to be on the open day roster, and like people are commenting in the bottom, which is crazy. They're like, this guy's the next Mike Trout, and it's like, all right, if this is happening, if this guy's hitting like Mike Trout, you have to. You would be a fool not to have this guy on your opening day roster.
Yeah, I know Caleb's probably fired up about it. I know you mentioned having you talking some Tigers later this week. I think it's right on par.
I think I have to get Raj on it just to talk about McGonigal just on its own. I think I have to.
Yeah. We've been talking about him since last year. They've been talking about how he's next up, and you're seeing it right now. So that's
it's
awesome.
So cool, dude. It's so sick to watch. I hope he's on the roster, man. I really do.
Did you see also? By the way, drop your questions for mailbag. We'll get to your questions. Today. I wanted to ask you: did you see the tags coming out? More tags. You got Daniel Jones transition tag.
Do you see it's like the first one in like 20 years?
Yeah, because I mean it's smart. Because if someone signs them, they have to give the Colts. Is that the one where they have to give the Colts?
No, this one transition is the team can match or team can offer him like he's still available. They can offer him, and the Colts have an opportunity to match. That's not the one. That's not the one with the 2 first equivalent.
I like that one too because he's coming off an Achilles injury, so it's like
but no one's done this tag, and I think it was like since like 1990 something or early 2000s. Like it's been a while. Usually people do the one where it's like, hey, if you sign somewhere else, we get the equivalent of 2 first-round picks back. Like that's usually the one that everyone does. That's all the other ones this year. This is the first transition tag in a while, which is smart.
Yeah. The Cardinals releasing Kyler Murray. They're set to release him. We knew that.
I don't know where he ends. I think he ends up in Minnesota. I know people don't like that, but it just feels like that's what it happens. Where else is he going to go?
I don't know. I mean, it's a good point. I will say I saw Geno Smith being talked about, and I'm not a big Geno Smith guy. I would rather have Geno Smith than Kyler Murray.
I agree. Like, does he go to the Steelers? Does he go to the Jets? Maybe the Jets get Kyler. Maybe that's a
AG
Breece Hall. They tagged Breece Hall.
Yeah, I did see that. I did see their tagging. Do you see May? By the way, Mike Valenti talk about that Jahmyr Gibbs contract today. Did you see that?
I don't think for you it's like anything to hold your head on.
I think Mike Valenti's watching Crunch Time Sports.
He might be, but Mike, if you're watching, we'll love to have you on. But no offense to you, Mike, this is
appalled of the idea of paying a running back $20-something million.
This isn't a shot at you, Mike, but like Jeff, like is Mike Valenti the guy that you want to be arm in arm walking down the street with? Like, yeah, I got this guy's take. Me and him are on the same page. He's probably the last guy. I respect Mike. I do. No, I'll say this. Mike has takes that gets people talking, but he is probably hits at like a 5% hit rate.
But he made great points with that one.
Yeah, but then again, he hits at a 5% hit rate. Like his points sound good in the moment, and then like you look 2 years down the line, and you're like, that was the dumbest thing someone's ever said.
Yeah, well, that's fine. I'll attach myself to this take, his Jahmyr Gibbs take. I will. I'll attach myself to that Jahmyr Gibbs take. If you could, because they're going to pay Breece Hall. I think the franchise tag is like $14 million. Out of all the franchise tags you can give, maybe quarterback's another one, but like it actually is a good deal for like a top back. Because like safety, it's like $20 million. Like, okay, you're like, okay, that's a high price tag.
They're going to pay Jahmyr. Just get ready for it, dude. I don't want you to be like shocked in 3 months when it comes out, when the week of the draft, when contracts start coming through, and you're going to be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they did this. I don't want to hear that. You know it's going to happen.
I won't say I'm shocked, but I'll just be like, okay, here we go. $20-something million. It is what it is. All right.
I don't want to hear anyone shocked.
I won't be shocked. I won't say.
Who do you think before mailbag? Who do you think? By the way, like Kenneth Walker didn't get tagged, so he's a free agent. Do you think he leaves? Well, obviously he does because they didn't But like, where do you think Kenneth Walker goes?
It's a good question. I think maybe Minnesota.
Yeah, they just let go of Aaron Jones.
Maybe
Or
Minnesota.
they're releasing Aaron Jones.
That wouldn't be a bad place for him.
Everyone wants to come to the NFC North, man.
I know.
Can we talk?
I know.
Go. You know, actually, one that I actually think is really good. If I was them, I would pay because they're getting rid. They're not paying a certain player, and he's walking in free agency. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Kenneth Walker, and Joe Burrow. I think would be incredible. They're letting Trey Hendrickson put out today that his thank you and goodbye to Cincinnati. The Trey Hendrickson, which this might be one of the happiest moments in my NFL life. I'm so happy that the Trey Hendrickson Cincinnati stuff's over.
I know.
That was like the longest 3 years of all time with that news.
I know. That was a pain in the ass to cover. It's so stupid. I'm glad he's free. I'm happy for him.
Yeah, I'm excited to see where he ends up too, man.
I really am.
Dude's finally going to be able to get some money somewhere.
Xavier Mailbag. Sorry, boys. Seth McLaughlin, former best center in college football, coming off a ruptured Achilles, is on our roster. Brad Guy. No,
It's the Ohio State guy that people are like, we don't need to get our center. We already have our starting center.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I mean, I actually liked him coming out. Clearly, I was wrong. Not as like a top pick, but he won the Remington Trophy. He was at Bama and then Ohio State. They won the Natty, and I was like, but no, he hasn't. No, you're not. He's a flyer. He's a flyer. If he really is the guy they think he is, I would be baffled. I would be baffled, Xavier. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying I would be absolutely baffled. J-Rod, do you think Carr unretires for a trade to Minnesota? We talked about that.
Sold on that.
Doesn't Derek Carr have like something on his shoulder? They were saying
on their way home from Indy. I brought up. I think there was some people that we talked to in Indy. I don't know if it got put out there, but I thought there was something that there's some sort of shoulder or elbow, whatever his injury was, that they people aren't too confident about.
Yeah, that's risky, man. I don't know. I think Derek Carr, if he's healthy, I would like it. But if there's something really wrong with his shoulder, I don't know about that. I don't know. I don't know if you want to dive into that. Jay Stees, they say Caleb Downs has a torn meniscus. Should the Lions trade back and draft him?
I'm not sold on. By the way, McAfee, they talked about this on the McAfee show today. They reached out to like GMs to see if this was actually a legit thing and if it was worried. And McAfee had mentioned that no one's changing their mind on Caleb Downs. Like he's still going to end up probably be a top pick in this draft, top 15.
Yeah, I don't think he'll fall either. There's all this talk. A lot of teams before the draft put out reports of this kind of stuff. Not that it's fake. I'm not saying it's fake. I think he could have a torn meniscus, but teams have more incentive to like find out information like this because they want players to fall. That's just how it goes. When you see this guy bomb this interview, this guy has these character issues or something, like teams are, it's bad. I mean, it's just like it's like a high school with rumors. It's just how it is because people want guys to fall. Same thing. It's the same thing with Mekhi Lemon. We just talked about that. Like Mekhi Lemon bombed this interview and he's weird. If he falls, someone's going to take him. You know what I'm saying? Like they just do.
Yeah, that's why, dude. I don't know if he gets like Mekhi Lemon's not getting past 20. Like he's just so talented.
And Caleb
and it's like,
Downs won't fall. He's not going to fall past 20.
No, to where you would trade back to get him. No. Yeah,
he's not going to. I would be shocked if he does.
And I think it's different too. It put in the chat like Will Johnson last year. I think it's different than Will Johnson. Like Caleb Downs is like the Kyle Hamilton, right? Like healthy. He's like Kyle Hamilton. I just don't think that's a player. And again, if Matt McAfee, who he has these connections, reaching out to GMs today to confirm what's going on, if he comes out and is like these GMs all told me that there's nothing to it, then I wouldn't take too much account into it.
Yeah, I agree with you. By the way, tomorrow, day of the doc. So be there for the Doc and Boone. Is Caleb joining tomorrow?
Caleb will be on tomorrow with me. Just a reminder to the people, the Doc joins at 8:45. I'm going to do everything I can to start at 8. Just prepare yourselves. There's 116 people in here. Prepare yourselves. There's a chance. Just keep your eye on it. There's a chance the show starts at 8:30 instead of 8 tomorrow and Thursday. Just make sure you're aware of that. We're not having a show, nothing like that. It's just going to be a timing thing that Jeff's gone. I'm not be available until 8:30. So it'll just be a little late start to the show. It might still start at 8 if I can make things work. And but we'll see. But we do have the Doc tomorrow, which should be fun. There's been a lot of stuff. The Doc's been texting me all day. There's been a lot of things. I know the Doc has a lot to say, and I don't know if we should limit the Doc. Say, hey, Doc, let's not talk about these certain things. It's up to us, I guess. We can. But
I know he's gonna have a lot to say. Yeah.
I don't know. I've gotten some texts. I've gotten a lot of texts today, and there was every other text was like off the record, on the record, off the record, on the record. And we had a good time. It's the first time we see him since we were in the combine with him. So
well, tell him I love him. I'll be rooting for you guys. You guys will crush. So go like the stream before you leave today, and come back tomorrow. Tune in and just support the guys this week, man. Big week. A big next week. I mean, it just gets bigger and bigger.
Free agency frenzy, man.
So, yep. We're back. Until tomorrow, Booner will catch you. I will catch you guys on Monday. Until then.